Beloved brothers, respected sisters, I greet you with the best of greetings, which is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May God's peace and blessings and His mercy be upon you. Tonight's program, or topic rather, is a very important one. In fact, the topic is the Prophet Mohamed, may the peace and blessings be upon him, and mercy to all the worlds. And if you notice on the advertisement, it's not a mercy to all the world, it's a mercy to all the worlds. And under this topic, our two speakers will cover a wide variety of topics, okay? Because you cannot talk about Muslims or the religion of Islam without talking about the Prophet Muhammad. May the peace and blessings be upon him. Many of you are familiar with both of our speakers. Our first speaker, Marotha Pasha, or known to many people in the community as Sheikh Pasha. He's a beloved brother. He's been in Tacoma for a long time. He has always been about community, about the betterment of society, for our youth. He's had so many success stories with the young people here that he has helped guide and train and lead into a right path of education, of good morality. You know, many of you who know him, you know that I'm only scratching the surface for what Sheikh Pasha has been able to do here in Tacoma, in Seattle before then, and wherever else he's been. I love Sheikh Pasha, and I love his wisdom, and I'm so happy that we were able to get him out here to talk tonight on this subject. And so we're going to start with Sheikh Pasha. He'll be our first speaker. Then our second speaker, many of you know, and if you don't know him, his name is Imam Al-Amin Abdul Latif, and he came to be with us all the way from Brooklyn, New York. He left his job and everything to come be with us, and he's done that many a times. He travels all around the country, other countries for that matter, sharing about Islam and about Muslims, trying to rid people of the misnomers and the falsehoods and the misconceptions about Muslims and Islam. And a lot of people have taken Shahada or reverted back to Islam from hearing his lectures and so on and so forth, or being fortunate enough to be in some of his classes and the different training he's offered. And so before I bring up Sheikh Pasha to talk, I want to give you just a quick bio on Imam Al-Amin that will, you will see why he's qualified to be one of our speakers here tonight. Imam Al-Amin Abdul Latif reverted to Islam in 1969. That's when I was born. That's how long he's been practicing Islam. In 1970, he joined the Darul Islam movement at Yasin Mosque in Brooklyn, New York. He was trained and educated in the Darul Islam School of Theology in the subjects of Usul al-Din, comparative religion, Quranic Arabic, and Tajweed under Sheikh Yahya Abdul Karim, and received a certificate of completion in 1976. Many of you weren't even born then. Imam Al-Amin attended and helped organize several Imam training programs in Plainsfield, Indiana, and in 1987 in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and in 1999 and 2000, earning certificates of completion in Arabic, Usul al-Fiqh, Aqidah, Sirah, and Hadith under Sheikh Khalid Al-Zawani, who is a great scholar and a very learned person in Islam as well as comparative religion. Imam Al-Amin has been an active worker, and I want to stress that, active. He's a tireless worker. I'm not going to say how old he is, but he's old enough to be most people in here's father, and he's like an Energizer bunny. You know, I love when he comes, but man, I got to get ready to keep up with him, you know. But he has been an active worker and organizer, preacher, and teacher of Islam for over 4 decades. He's been practicing Islam, I think, my recollection, maybe 43, 44 years already. He has traveled extensively throughout America and abroad in Europe, Canada, the Middle East, Africa, and the Caribbean, lecturing on Islam, unity, brotherhood, and community development, as well as empowerment. And Imam Al-Amin, one of the things that makes him near and dear to a lot of people out here, and especially the sisters in Islam, is because he's a champion for people's rights, including the women's rights. He loves education, and he loves for the sisters to be just as educated, if not more, as the brothers. So a lot of people favor him for that. They like him for that. They commend him for that. Imam Al-Amin is one of the pioneers of Islamic Dawah in the prison system of New York State. He was a chaplain there for 20-some years. He served as a chaplain, in New York Department of Corrections from 1976 into the 90s. Imam Al-Amin is one of the founders of Majlis Ashura Leadership, which is the governing council of New York City. All the imams there, okay? He was elected the first president, and then after a couple of years, they just said, why don't you just be the president forever? And a testament to how good a job that he's done, okay? So he is the Imam of Masjid Allahu Akbar, which is in Long Island, New York, and he is the founder and the Emir of the Iqamatuddin movement, okay? And so without further ado, I know we've taken up a lot of your time, and I appreciate you being patient, but I'm gonna ask Sheikh Pasha to come up and to speak to us about tonight's topic. Thank you very much. Sheikh Pasha.
You guys are speaking here. Assalamu alaikum. All praise is due to Allah. We seek His help and ask His protection. I seek refuge in Allah from the mischief of my soul and from my evil deeds and actions. Whomsoever Allah guides will not be misguided, and whomsoever Allah leaves to stray shall find no guidance. I bear witness. I bear witness. None has the right to be worshipped besides Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His last messenger and warner to mankind. These are very escalating and deep words. The last and final warner to mankind, a messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when we say that, we're asking for the blessings, the mercy of Allah to be upon this great man. Oh, you brothers talk about him like he's a God. No, he's a messenger. Allah is the God. And this is the message we want to bring to you tonight, because it has been interspersed with the word terrorism and all other kinds of nonsensical matters when the Muslims have led the world in science, mathematics, education, all of the pioneering advances in intellectual worth. What we would like to bring to you tonight is an opportunity for us, not you, for us, to understand what it means when we say Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a mercy to the worlds. Mankind had fallen into such a great abyss of sin, misguidance, thievery, robbery, substance abuse, alcoholism, women abuse, everything you can put your finger on that would turn Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala away from us, we do. When we say Allah, what do we mean? We say that this is the Lord of all worlds, covering everything. We didn't say a mercy to the world because we don't know how many worlds Allah has created. When the scientists got out into deep space, they set up a computer that they wanted to try to track the frontiers of space, get to the very frontier space, and every one they put out there broke down. And what they found when they got, and I don't know, this was some years ago, I don't know what they got now. But what they found when they got to the frontier, what they thought was the frontier, it was just the beginning of another universe. And so we are coming to learn that we have no knowledge whatsoever about the factors that are taking place in the outer world. What does this mean to us? It means that if we cannot govern ourselves, our conduct and our behavior on this planet, we're the last hope for mankind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, the one. We say none is worthy of worship besides Allah. Why? Because we say Allah is one. Now, if we go to the books, and we go to the Torah or the Injil, it said in the beginning, what did God do? He created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. Well, what did God do in the beginning? He created. If he created, what was before him? Nothing. Now you say, I find that hard to believe. Check it out. Before the creation, nothing existed. And the science of the creation is with Allah. And so his mercy is to take his knowledge and implant it in a human and send the human as a messenger to deliver his word. Now we have had prophets, apostles, deacons, preachers, teachers, over the centuries to come to mankind to warn. But look at the condition we're in today. If we had brought the essence of truth, it would have begun to make a difference. Now, who are the only people in the world that are being persecuted? No, not the only ones. Many people are being persecuted in the world. But the major persecution is against the Muslims. Why? Because they bring the only mercy that mankind will receive. The knowledge of self. How to comport, how to build, how to structure, how to parent, how to educate. And we don't want none of this goodies? I'm so happy to see your faces today. Why? Because when the Prophet Mohamed came, he first came to his family. He brought them the good news from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And little by little, this man of import, you have to go back to yourself. Take the time, debate with the Muslims. Say, no, we don't think he's the best. Debate with us. Then bring your champion forward and we'll put him forward. When you see the struggle that the Prophet Muhammad went through in the 23 years that he devoted to Islam, you wouldn't want that job. You wouldn't want that job. He was driven out of towns. He was beaten. They turned in Taif. They turned the children loose on him. Say, here's a man coming in and talking garbage. Get him. They pursued him all through the town and beat him, threw stones on him. Now, the writers said that he bled until the blood filled his cuffs. These were leather socks that they wore in that area. So what is our message? It's no sense in us coming out day in, day out, night in, night out to preach to wooden ears. If your ears get soft, it gives us encouragement. But that didn't stop the Prophet Muhammad so we have to emulate him. There was no turn down to his message that he backed up from. Finally, they drove him out of his homeland for this message. He was born in Mecca under the tribe Quraysh. And because of his preaching, they drove him out of Mecca. And he took residence in Medina. But from there, his teaching in the name of God, not his teaching in the name of God conquered the entire world. Now, you and I are what will introduce this great deen to this land. I was born in a family of 10 children. African American mother and father. 10 children. My father was the only income provider in our house. My mother never worked a day in her life. He said, Gussie, I want you to stay home and take care of these children. They were Christians, absolute Christians. I'm the only Muslim out of 10 children. If you don't think that's a mercy, then you should see where I came from. And you should see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought me through just to stand here and talk to you today, to see the friends that He has introduced me to, the people that I have met, the lives that have changed my life. Why? Because I saw the benefits conferred by Islam. I was in a state to do something different. My ears were listening for something different. And then I heard this message that Islam was in Harlem. I said, I got to go and hear what is this all about? Because in Islam, we don't tattoo. But years ago, I put that garbage on my arm. And I was 15 years old. I had no idea what this was all about. It was an Arab head with a turban and a beard. I was on the road already. But I wasn't coming for the Arabs. I was coming for the truth. I wanted to know, since I had in-depth studies in the Bible, how could you have the 4 great gospel chroniclers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and each of them had different accounts. So the Prophet Mohamed come to give a straight line. This is what the man does. This is what the woman does. This is what the businessman does. This is what we do not do. The haram, the halal. The halal is that which is beneficial, and the haram is that which is prohibited. So this is where the game starts. The mercy is to point out the flaws to humanity that we did not see. I think the message has to be delivered straight in the English language to the ear that's cultivated to that until you attune yourself to the skills of the brothers who are in this community teaching the Arabic, so that you can learn the correct tajweed and read the Quran, and you will never come back in the street and say that this is a garbage religion. This is a mercy. And that's why we're happy to have the Imam and his workers here tonight, because we started some years ago. I didn't finish my little tale to tell you how I got here. I heard this news, so I went running down 116th Street and Lenox Avenue. So I wanted to see what's going on down there. There was a group down there called the Nation of Islam. And I joined the Nation of Islam. I spent a deal of time in the Nation of Islam. The minister in our mosque was Malcolm. I watched Malcolm get kicked out of the masjid. I watched the brothers leave with him. And this was not the Islam. This was Islam. This was not the Islam. This was something that came contrary to Islam, but I didn't have the Islamic knowledge. And I didn't know that anything other than believing in the oneness of God was the greatest sin that you could commit. If you had a creator, someone who fashioned your bones, your atoms, your structure, and put your feet planted firmly on the earth, and then you come up and you give praise to someone else, what do you think that creator feels? In some instances, we say, well, he should destroy the world. But he took a mercy. He took a mercy. He didn't take a revenge. And we have been sinning since he sent us down on the earth from that which he created us to. Brothers and sisters, listen. I'm 77 years of age. I didn't think that I could live to be 30. In fact, The brother who raised up with me is not a blood brother. We celebrated when I was 27. We celebrated because we didn't think we'd live that long. That's the way life was in Harlem. But Malcolm began teaching, and Malcolm began preaching. Now, I'm going to give you conclusive proof that Islam is a mercy. Malcolm was in temple number 7. Farrakhan was in 14 up in Boston. Both dynamic speakers, earth shakers. Malcolm had his heart touched by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he made the Hajj. And on making the Hajj, the people say Malcolm went to Mecca and found people with skin as fair as the fairest white, blue-eyed. Malcolm was an intellectual. You mean to tell me Malcolm didn't know that whites had accepted Islam? But what he was saying was, what he was characterizing as a devil by saying blue-eyed, blonde-haired devils, there was actually good people. And they were being miscast. Before we leave tonight, I would like you to weigh to yourself, not what you heard, I would like you to use your mathematics. And let me know if you were a creator, and as a father and a mother, you are partially to that extent which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lent us the ability to do, and you brought children into this life, and you raised them. You bought shoes, clothing, everything. You suffered and sacrificed. And when that child got up this high, he said, "This is my father." Ignoring his real father. "This is my father." Well, what we have seen and what we know. I watched Malcolm rise to the heights where people talk about him all over the world. And alhamdulillah, the others just faded into the limelight. Why? Because Malcolm held on to that unvarnished truth. That unvarnished truth, that which you can't paint over. Malcolm held on to that. He suffered. I knew Betty, his wife. I did not know a better woman at that time than Betty, Malcolm's wife. He could count on her, and she was admired all throughout the community because of how she carried herself. If we could adapt the attire that Allah had sent down to us, covering the women. Oh, brother, what are you talking about? You gonna cover up our beautiful women? Yeah, and maybe they'll get home safe to you at night. We have the highest counts of rape and abuse of the women in the world. Why? Because we don't have Islam. What is Islam? Islam is complete, total submission to the will of God. That we practice and we rise and we fall, just like the Imam was talking earlier. We struggle. We do good, then we drop off. But we have something to come back to pull us back up. So what are we doing? We're changing the foundations of this world. We're taking it away from evil, and we're bringing it back to the khair, the good. We're taking it away from abuse, and we're bringing it back to attentiveness to the divine word. I'm full in my family of preachers, full of them. Grandfather, uncles, sister, brother. But they're fearful of their word now. We're not here to bash Christians because I told you where I came from. We're here to say that the word that was given to Isa, our prophet Jesus, was contaminated by one who met the apostles. We'll take that in a separate time. I'll leave this for our brother here to deal with. I would like to go heavier into some matters. I'm dealing with some very, very strong things in my personal life. And to be very open and honest with you, I didn't prepare very well because my wife was out of town. She just got back, and I had to take her right into the hospital today, and I didn't get out until a short while ago. But now let me say this to you. I'm not saying this to make you feel like, hey, you got to cry for... No, 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 no. My fate is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's already decreed. What I would like you to do tonight, that you may have never done before, is be open and honest. Listen with open ears. Evaluate. Assess. And then eliminate the truth from the falsehood. You don't have much time. We don't have much time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us something very brilliant. Now I have 5 minutes and I'm out, 2 minutes and I'm out of here. First, He saved America from a catastrophe. Have you any idea what was coming through the polls with Mitt Romney and his crew? Everything that they intended on the slave plantation, they was going to bring it up and put it through the economy. And you don't know who in this audience would have been broken down by economics, by the inability to feed, clothe, and shelter yourselves. That's what they were about to do. Set up an economy where there are only two layers. The very, very rich and the very, very poor. And this is not a color issue. This is an issue about power. You take power and you divide it by the powerless, and you got the schema for America today. We are powerless except when we collaborate, unify, and stand for the good. Collaborate, join our hands, unify, and stand for the good. We're going to go and get all our young brothers. We're going to bring those into Islam that are in the campus, on the corners, selling drugs, sticking up, and learning to be good people. We want everybody. But we want you, more so, to take your place in this life and stand up for Islam, for what it has done for you. If it hasn't done nothing for you, forget it. And walk on about your business. But if you know Islam has come into your house, your family, your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, and established a lifestyle for you, and if you know it has affected a change on you to the extent that you're concerned about humanity, if you know that, then you have no alternative but to stand for that truth, speak it, and work for it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send His guidance and His blessings down on each and every one. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to that which is good. We seek refuge in Allah from the mischief of the evil, mischievous people. We seek refuge in Allah from poverty. We seek refuge in Allah from the curses and from the downfalls. We ask each and every one of us today, tonight, to make a compact with yourself that you want only the best in life, and you're going to seek the highest level of spiritual value. We have seen what the material has done. We've blown up a part of the earth. We've sent armies all over the world. Now we're the big honcho, and everybody's gunning. So in my conclusion, I would like to say to you, I thank you so much for braving this rain and coming out to hear these little grains of truth. And I greet you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.